Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another live. I am so excited about today. It is an understatement. I have discovered so much about my guest today. But before that, I want to thank all of you who have from Sunday to Sunday watched the Iconic Advisor channel on generational wealth, financial planning. And for those of you who are joining in for the very first time, thank you for joining me, and thank you now for sharing and liking the videos that you're seeing on the channel. And of course, subscribing is important, and hit the notification bell so whenever it is I am live or a video is uploaded, you'll be the first to know. Hope you all are keeping safe and well. Happy Sunday and welcome. It is, of course, curfew, so you all should be home. And I thank you for just taking the time this and every Sunday right here on the Iconic channel on YouTube. And for those of you who are on Facebook, of course, it is posted there at the time, so you can join me this and every Sunday. Thank you. Thank you very much. Looking forward to today's live. And of course, it is about the importance of critical illness insurance and investment. And I want to get my guest right in here this Sunday. Of course, it is Lady D. Tanya Powell. Just realized a few minutes ago that she's a past student of Manchester High School. I knew this lady looked familiar, and I guess her spirit drew my spirit, and we just started talking and realized that we were from familiar grounds. Tanya is a success coach who empowers individuals to hone their leadership skills to achieve success in their personal and professional lives. As a coach and an inspirational speaker, she strongly believes that lasting results are created by transforming from the inside out. She effectively guides her audiences to create powerful mindset shifts there and that elevate them from where they are to where they're truly desired to be. That's important. Having spent over 2 decades in the corporate sector, Tanya is a certified executive and personal development coach with the John Maxwell Team and CAPP Institute. She is also an international award-winning team engagement coach known as the People's Coach. She strongly believes that it is in change that you discover your purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, Facebookers, YouTubers, of course, I want you to welcome Miss Tanya Powell to the Iconic page. Tanya, welcome.
Thank you, Sharna. Thank you so much for having me. It really is a pleasure, and especially after the 2 minutes before we came on with all the discovery, it really is a pleasure to be here. So thank you for having me.
Wow, thank you for accepting, my dear. I am so excited. No class of Manchester High, whatever year, Manchester to the world, Mandeville to the world, and discovered that your sister and I, Sharifa Powell, we are familiar. I knew of you in high school, someone that I admired. Because I know either you are part of the executive in terms of student council or the prefect body, but I know you're always in leadership. So I always admire you then. And to know that when you were in a recent meeting with my company, you presented to our branch, and I was somewhat attracted to your passionate story. And I invited you to be here, not knowing that it would have led us into other grounds, just hearing your story and genuinely seeing someone who had something to share. And that was very important. And then here we are today, just chatting just before the live, knowing that, oh, we're from Mandeville. Your mom taught me at Mandeville all
Yes.
Powell. Oh my God. This is close to home. I mean, we have to have a reunion after the show, it seems. But I'm so excited. I am so excited. Welcome, welcome. I'm seeing Martin saying greetings, Miss P. Greetings,
Hi,
Martin. So
Martin.
welcome. Guys who are here from Manchester High, go ahead and just share the page. Go ahead and just like up the things them, and if you have your questions, but I'm looking forward to it. But Tanya, I just want to make sure that there are some persons that, and even that, I felt comfortable from the beginning to say, Tanya, didn't ask if it was Miss or Mrs. I was just so comfortable saying Tanya from the get-go, and I knew there was just some connection from the beginning. So I want to make sure that everybody on my page is abreast to what is happening. And then before we get right into the show, I wouldn't want anybody to miss this. It is even more important
Oh my goodness,
for them
Sharnett.
to
I feel
be
like you're
on.
setting me up now.
I'm setting you up, girl. I'm setting you up. But we have persons who are on already, and again, I want to welcome them this and every Sunday for joining in the channel and for supporting, of course. And the information that is shared here is important for those who are thinking of adding any financial products to your portfolio, and more specifically, we'll be diving into the critical illness coverage and, of course, investment. Now, Tanya, share the story. Basically, I didn't, when you were speaking of your mom, I didn't even know I know mom. No, it is, you had me in tears at the meeting and I didn't know who mom was, but I felt the connection with your mom. I felt like it was my mom. I would have made the same decision that you made in terms of leaving your job to take care of your mom, and then subsequently to what had happened to you. I felt like it was me. I fell in your shoes. I can't explain it, but I didn't even know it was Mrs. Powell. I haven't seen her. Martin is on the show now, and the last time I saw her was on a video when he went to introduce her to his
To his
book.
book.
And I was like, oh my word, that lady hasn't aged one bit. She looks
You,
just as fabulous as when I was in all age school. But tell us, share your story with us.
yeah. Thanks for that. I'm sure she'd love to hear that. You should see her now. You wouldn't believe. Um, so when before we came on live, you were sharing something else about the power of sharing our stories. And I co-authored a book which will speak about, but the visionary for that book, one of her mantras is, your story is about you, but it's not for you.
Wow.
And so as we share our stories, we give others permission, whether it's permission to rise, permission to just keep going, permission to dare. And
Yeah.
so, in sharing my story, that is the hope that I can impart at least one message, one thing, whether it's around financial, whether it's around mindset, whether it's around health. And so, and my mom feels the same way. And through our stories, we're also trying to figure out, how do we really help other people? How do we make an impact? Because, the story is that for the last 2 years, for both of us, we've battled cancer. Her colon cancer. In 2018, she was diagnosed with colon cancer, and her. She's always on the go. She's always taking care of
Yes.
everyone.
Yes.
And so her case was a little tricky, and I've gotten permission to share her story this way. And so based on, a little bit of complication for her story, we decided to go overseas for her surgery. And so in 2018, December 2018, I quit my then job and I went overseas to be her caregiver. Didn't know that we would have spent 8 months, January to July. That's 8, something like that.
7.
Um, something like that, right? Chemo brain. And then we came home. She completed her treatments that she needed to. We came home. And so, she's doing well, and I'm all set to resume my life and carry on and do something new. When October, yeah, I think it was the October, few weeks after my birthday, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so, last year was just this grand year of not only the pandemic for me, but also just, doing my treatments. But it's I don't know if I want to use the word funny. It's almost as if my journey with her, somewhat prepared me to
Wow.
face my own journey. And so, I was able to stand in just absolute power that I would have learned from her. If it's one thing I said as she was going through hers, is that I have never seen anyone just approach an adversity with such grace, with such faith. It was just a remarkable thing to see. And so I tried to, tap into that when the doctor said, "Oh, you got breast cancer," and things. So that's the genesis of the story. And so a part of the thing that I talk about is, I say, can we dare to thrive through our adversities? Because it's called life. We
Yes.
are going to have our ups and downs. It's like the law of rhythm, you know. It's just that flow. You have good days, you have bad days, you have ups, you have downs, you have celebrations, and you have, tears. So how do we learn to embrace the journey and its ups and downs, knowing that, life is like this, but
Yes.
we'll have our ups and
Bonus.
downs,
Yeah.
yeah. It's so funny that I'm putting it in this way, because I was listening to someone on the weekend, and she was really talking about, are you invested in your life like you would be invested in a stock market? So the stock market should grow, but that it's not straight like that. it,
Exactly.
it has its ups and downs. And what do you do in the down moments?
The
And so a big
expected
part of it
return.
is, yes, what do you do in the down moments? Do you cash out?
Right.
Do you buy Sagicor stock, and because the market is a little bit down, you say, oh no, it's not a good company, and you sell? No, we don't do that.
Right.
So say similarly in our lives, when we are down in that valley, how do we cash out, or do
Right.
we buy more of us, and what happens?
So we have to be able to
Yeah.
determine the seasons, and they're normally familiar.
Yes.
There are training grounds sometimes for the process, as you said, based on mom's experience. It prepared you in terms of your experience, which shortly after that you had to go through.
Right.
So that season came and came again
Mm-hmm.
in terms of your own season. But wow, that's a that's I don't even want to use the word beautiful way to put it, based on the experience, because that experience alone has been impacting. No, uh, it is hard for me to even talk to you about it. I mean, I was okay. I know I fell in love with you, but then to learn this just a few minutes before the live, that these are people that have come in contact with. This is not just a random case of someone who has been diagnosed and you're going to have them on your show. This is someone that I know, my teacher who taught me. I could have heard otherwise, but you are here. And based on the experience, I want you to go through the process in terms of cost associated with the treatment, consultation, what's happening now. You don't have to go much into what is happening now, but the cost associated with that, and the experience psychologically, because we only
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes it's a, okay, I have cancer and it's a physical thing and it's a financial thing, but how do you cope? And then you had to deal with it before, and then I guess by the time you come up for air, you were under again.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, it's really looking at the entire picture, and that's what I try to paint and share, because persons have always shared. One of the things when I was diagnosed that I really didn't recognize or understand is just some of these costs. Because we'd share, as you say, here is the physical effect, you're gonna lose your hair, da da da. Here's the physical things, but for some reason we are a little bit mum on the cost. And so a part of my sharing has been, guys, listen, from my experience, here's what can happen. I almost feel like you can be one diagnosis away from being broke. So, I put it in the context of, let me start with the other side of it. So it's okay that you use the word beautiful, because as I go through my journey, and as I've been going through my journey, and I've been studying the mind and body connection, because that's what I coach now. I've been there. I've been in that valley. And I know that we use tools and mindset and thinking, changing of thinking, to get me out and to get me through. And I share that now. And so I study a lot around, the mind and the body connection, and recognizing that where your mind goes, your body follows. And so even as we would be turning up for chemo treatment, for example, we'd say, you say those words and your body immediately feels like, and then when we switch it and say, you know what, we're going for a body cleanse. It's a body cleanse day.
Yes.
It becomes a very different feeling,
Yes.
because your words have that kind of a power, and that's what spurs you into action. So you can imagine, if you're thinking, oh my God, I have to go to chemo, you're kind of feeling like, and dragging yourself.
You've already lost, basically.
Yeah. As against, even when one day I was on the radiation table, and, the nurse took a photo and I posted it. And I said, guys, no, I'm not at radiation. I'm being infused with superhero awesomeness.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. So your words have power, and that's one of the things I really share. So when I was going through with Mom, we recognized that there's so much you can do and know more around the physical. So you go to the doctor and you get your chemo, or you get your radiation, or you do your surgery, and you try to eat well and try to exercise, but it goes so far and no further. And then we realize that it's about tapping into here. This is the drive of everything. And so, we created what we call a little recipe for thriving through adversity. So every morning, we get up and, our prayer and devotions, we do some meditating, reading. One of the books that we read, for her was My Best Life Now by Joel Osteen. For me, The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And listen to positive, uplifting every single day, like clockwork. Create that power hour. And what that does is that it sets you up. We know that going through, you're going to have your good days, you're going to have your bad days. Your days after chemo, and you feel like, take me now. But when you have your power hour and you get into that, it's about setting yourself up to have more good days than bad. And Sharnette, let me tell you something that I've truly discovered. Our thoughts really create the feelings in our body. And of course, we know our feelings dictate our actions. So if you wake up one morning and say, I don't feel like going to work today. If you were to step back, chances are you're thinking something negative, like, I just really can't deal with the traffic today, or whatever it is. And I remember one day, I really wasn't feeling good. I started to feel even a little achy. And I stopped and I said, let me test. It's like I said, let me test what I'm reading. And I stopped and I said, okay, Tanya, what are you thinking? And sometimes it's unconscious. So I realized that I was just going down this rabbit hole of negative. What if, what if? And I said, okay, let's switch that thought.
Right.
Switch the thought. And I just started thinking possibility, thinking about my dreams, my goals that I wanted to continue to pursue coming out of this. What message did I have out of this? Because here's the funny thing, wanting to be a speaker, coach, I always said, but I don't have an interesting story to share. So it's like,
track to the story.
Interesting story you want? Interesting story you get. Yes. So it's also now switching the thought process to And one of the things I would write every day in my journal, so we're going to talk about that also, is just, I just was, the words I would actually write was, I'm so happy and grateful now that I have perfect health from day one, every day, from day one. And so I'd go back to that. And that day, I remember that day in particular, the more I started to think about that and start to laugh and just start to get into my reading, everything changed. The feelings changed, the pain went and everything. So I know that, and I'm not an expert in the area yet, but I know that it works. So that's around that side, the financial side. So when I share this story, I say to persons, what I'm about to share is outside of your, what I would call your regular costs, yeah? So outside of the cost for the x-rays and the CTs and the scans, and even the cost outside of what I dub regular chemo, which is every 3 weeks. So when I was diagnosed with HER2 positive breast cancer, also the most popular here. Charlotte, have I lost you?
I'm here.
Were you hearing me or did we get disconnected?
I'm hearing you. You are still live.
Okay. Okay. And so the biggest cost, which was just mind blowing and jarring, was we have two drugs. So remember, we have our regular chemo every 3 weeks, which would cost me anywhere between 75,000 to say 150,000, depending on which pharmacy you go to get your drugs, right? But there are two drugs for this particular strain, Herceptin and Perjeta.
Ah.
Yes, the Herceptin turned out to be roughly, so it's 18 doses, so roughly $5 million. Roughly
For the
300.
18 doses?
Yes, so 300 and mash per dose.
How often you have to
That's
take that dose?
every 3 weeks.
Wow.
But it gets even better. The Perjeta now became 650 plus. Here it's at 700 now, $1,000 per dose.
And how many doses?
Recommended 18.
So 18 for each, basically. And you have to take both. It's not either or. Which one is a generic and which one?
Right. So it's two different. And they combine, they give you, the best shot at cure. So these are additional. So we're going through the regular, but then here are these two drugs that are life-saving, that gives you even better. But that's where the costs are. And I'm like, what? So that was just mind-blowing for me. And so so here's the thing. The government does subsidize Herceptin if you qualify. And so I qualified, went into the UWI clinic, right? Now let me tell you, on a Friday we would have oncology clinic, and there are hundreds of patients at any go.
16.2 million.
Oh, you're calculating?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I said at some point was, I don't know if it is the disease that kills a lot of persons or it's the inability to afford the care, the medication.
Because you know that delayed treatment in some aspect can move from a stage 2 in stage 4 in no time.
In no time, yes. And so, and this is where I lift my hat to, a company like Sagicor, certainly. So there was a thing that you also said that when we were speaking before, that there are persons who say, and this is not when we get into how critical illness insurance played a role for us, because we had I had some critical illness. And like, I suppose, like too many of us, you take out some policies, and after a while
Right.
you allow some kind of lapse, and you have some, and all that kind of drama. Because we for some reason, for too many of us, we don't see it as investing for the future. We don't want
We
anything to
don't.
happen. That is for sure. We don't. We
Exactly.
don't. But just in case, here it is. And what was so good about, when I went to Barbados Avenue, Sagicor, with my critical illness stuff, within a week, the money was just placed in my account. Now, it wasn't 16 point odd million.
Right.
Because I even said to one of my insurance agents, I was like, you couldn't tell me that I needed more. She said, Tanya, you think you would have bought 20 million worth of insurance? I said, no. But every little bit adds up. Every little bit adds up. And so when you get that, and it goes straight to your account so that you can use it
Yes.
how you need to, it makes so much of a difference. So that's the first thing around that. Now, one of the things you and I spoke about, or you briefly shared, is that as you're selling or serving persons,
Recommending. Yes.
recommending, persons will say, well, if I take it, I'm gonna get it. And initially I was like, what? And in this moment, I just said, well, if you don't take it out and you get it, what
No
happens then?
safety net. And as you said,
You know,
one was 300,000 every 3 weeks, needed 18 treatments, that's 5.4. One was 600, 18 treatments, that's a 10.8 combined. And this, you're saying, is in addition to the regular chemotherapy.
yes. Yeah. And this is my layman term. So if there's any doctor on listening or so, please understand that this is just my layman term
Your
of putting
experience,
it this way. My
your
experience. Yeah.
experience, Tanya, is important to the
Yeah.
layman because from the doctor's point of view, yes, they can quote a cost, but someone who has actually experienced it, saw the cost, heard the cost, associate with treatment, because we recommend it and we say it. I have critical illness coverage. I've recently increased my critical illness because I'm aging and because these illnesses, even though you might say you're not hereditary or it's not in my genes, nobody has it. Most of our, based on our bodies are made up different, lifestyle changes, how we eat. I don't know if it's the air, I don't know if it's the deodorant, whatever it is, but these illnesses are becoming so popular and
Yes.
random cases, even in children. So we need these safety net called critical illness coverage. In the event this happens, you have that. In your case, 16.4, and it was along with other treatment.
If I
No,
look at my spreadsheet, is way past 16 because
exactly.
the exchange rate.
And that was treatment. What's happening now? Because I'm sure you have to continue some regimen in terms of
Yeah.
maintaining good health, keeping this out of your body. So the cost
Yes.
continues.
It continues. It continues from, just these follow-ups, or what we call scan now. So for example, I know we all know have to go through, my next mammogram and ultrasound, and have a whole bunch of stuff here to go do colonoscopy and whatnot.
And those are
And I
associated with additional costs.
and those are costs, yeah. So the flip side of the critical now was, the health insurance, being able to swipe the Sagicor card here
Yes.
was also a tremendous help. And I bring that in because there are persons who are self-employed. Let me just put it that way, who, and even persons who would have left, who are saying, I'm going to leave my 9 to 5 and go do my own thing. And these are some of the things that we forget, that I still need to be able to carry on my health insurance, kind of a thing. Whether it's a group plan or, whatever it is, I still need to
Mm-hmm.
do that because these things can
Occur at
happen.
any
Anything
point
can
in
happen.
time. Yes.
So,
Wow.
you still have your follow-ups, and, fortunately or unfortunately, this is again when, the whole, you're trying to do the best you can from a health perspective. So now it's about, eating a little bit healthier, which means a lot more fruits, a lot more vegetables, um, increase in expense, because we know that those things are not cheap either.
Yes.
And so, it's just this, your supplements, your vitamins, which your immune system is now compromised, so you now have to be so focused. There is this medication I'm on for the next 5 years. I have to keep buying that. You have to keep supplementing, building back the immune. So and it's not to say that persons would have been, you would have been taking your vitamins and so, but where you could perhaps say, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm healthy, and I could miss a month or so.
Ex-
There's
which
this
I have.
regimen, yeah, which we all have. There's this regimen, so it continues.
So
And then
with
the other, yeah,
so with even the experience comes discipline now in terms of the way forward.
yeah. So it's
Discipline.
supposed to.
Yes. Wow. So it comes with a lot. Oh my. But what would you have done differently with this knowledge in terms of cost associated with the illness? We have
So
coverages that we have two coverages in particular, one specifically for women and another one for both male and female, that covers up to 35 million in critical illness. We have
everybody needs to get that.
that one, you may or may not require a medical depending on the answers to the question on the application. And you have one where you can get up to 8 million without a medical. Bear in mind, there is no cancer, no heart attack. So there are about 4 or 5 questions to answer with that one. We have even children now. Critical illness issued, it's about 15, it covers from ages 2 to 15 years. So we have covered most of the gaps in terms of critical illness because child cancer is also popular.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing, having the experience and knowing that now in terms of even the coverage cost you, I counted 16.2 cost more because you had other stuff. What would you have done differently in terms of your advisor approaching you and making the recommendation? Because I have been, there are persons who have a million now, and I can speak because of affordability. They may not be able to afford. But if a diagnosis will come and I'm pointing it out to them, $1 million can't treat nothing.
No, no, no,
It may be
no.
able to cover an initial cost of a treatment and maybe consultation.
Well,
But
let me tell you what the
certainly,
million covered. 1 million covered a part of for me. Those two same drugs I was telling you about. It covered um It covered 1 dose of Herceptin and 2 doses of Progesterone with insurance. I still had to find that. So, you asked what would I have done differently. One of the things that we tend to do generally, and I've seen it, I've been in the financial industry, is that, when things get tight, the expenses that we cut tend to be like
talk about
allowing
it.
allowing our insurances to lapse, or we downgrade it, or we change it, that sort of a thing. Because again, yes, we never ever want to have to pull on it, but in case we do. And so it's a subtle, for me, if I were to go back, it would be a subtle shift where I would start. We see these things as an expense. I can't afford it. But can you afford not to? And so I would make that little subtle shift in my head to say, you know what? This is an investment over the long term in me. And hopefully I won't have to cash it out in a particular manner. but I can get it back whether, when I retire or whatever it is. So that would have been the first thing. And then, so what happens is that if you see something as an investment and it's good for you and it's beneficial for you and it's going to give you payouts over the long term, then you'd invest more. And so every time, Jackie came, I'd probably say, Jackie, I'm like you just said, I'm getting older. I really do need to invest more in me. But
Yes.
every time she came, it would be like, boy, Jackie, I can't afford anymore. I really can't afford it. And the other thing that I would really suggest is start early. So even some of my policies I had from very, very early. So it's almost like I was paying just a small amount, little or nothing over the years. But the longer, I mean, I'm sure you appreciate the longer we take to get started, the more
Cost
expensive,
in terms of
more
right,
costly. Right.
because
So,
it affects age and insurability. So
and
we don't only think
insurability.
about getting age. So some of us were aging and our health is not so up there when we were in our 20s and 30s. So we have to consider, because like I said, the one that covers 35 million, you have to, based on the answers, I mean, almost imperfect health with that one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want that sort of coverage, it is best for you to apply
The earlier, the
the
earlier.
earlier.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I've also come to realize, as you were saying, is that we still have these, what do you call it, nuances or beliefs around
Fallacies,
illness,
I call it.
illnesses or even a will. Persons, we would have heard that, boy, if you write a will, it means you're going to die. If
I've
if
heard
I
that
take
one
out,
too.
yeah, if I take, and so, I've seen so many instances where people die because we are gonna all die.
It is a
And there
compliment
was
to all
no
of
will,
us.
and it causes so much of a challenge, and
Yes,
so to recognize that people say, boy, if I take out a critical illness or take out insurance, then I am going to get sick. No, I understand, and this is also one of the things that I've come to truly understand and truly embody in my coaching is that, where our focus goes, our energy flows. And I
right.
get that sense of, if, and we talk about what else would I have done differently. So I'm also taking it from a mindset perspective where, we have these emotions or these low vibrations of fear and anxiety and stress and anger, and everything is energy. And when we self-doubt and just sabotage those limiting beliefs, and when we hold on to those negative energies in the body, it has to manifest some way, somehow.
Yes.
And one of my mentors says, that's what causes dis-ease in the body. It doesn't even say disease. It says it causes a dis-ease in the body because you feel the
Wow. Never
dis-ease
thought about
coming
that.
on.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
You feel that coming on. And if you don't do anything about that, then that becomes, it goes now into disintegration.
Mm.
And so one of the questions, even as I'm speaking to my oncologist, and because everybody's still trying to figure out this cancer thing,
Yes.
you would say, and we'd have conversations in the clinic, I'll strike up conversations, and we'd say, tell me something. What was like the 2 years, like the year and a half or the 2 years before you were diagnosed? What was it like? And
Yeah.
somebody would say, oh my God, I was going through the most traumatic experience, or I was going through a divorce, or I was going through, and there were just so many of
Wow.
those responses that, in the time leading up, there was just this place of low
Preparation.
vibration or this place of low vibration. So you were either having anxiety or fear, or you were going through trauma. The body was just in this place of dis-ease and then
Mm.
sitting in it because not that I was going through anything traumatic, but I was entering a new profession and just having a lot of doubts and fears and everything. But then as I was
Wow.
reflecting, so that's the other thing that I talk about on the other side now, when we can have faith and tap into love and those high vibe energies, then our bodies,
Wow.
we create, we build, we regenerate. So
So
those,
you're going into
so
the science aspect of how we react to things. We're actually doing our bodies a disadvantage.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
I've
just
heard of it that our bodies release these chemicals under high stress, and that can also trigger off the cancer cells. But I thought it was just a thought.
well, like I said, I'm no medical
No
doctor or
expert,
so, but
right?
in that
But
area,
based
but
on based on
my
this stats,
experience,
yes,
yeah,
and the
and there
statistics
is
in
that
terms of other
connection.
persons, yeah, and it does make sense. It does make sense because if it is that you can think positively, but based on, you said during one session you took a picture to say you were getting these superhero juices infused. I mean, that in itself is a start of healing in terms of conditioning your mind and seeing the situation for what it is. But then your outcome would have been different if you maybe had thought of it as they're injecting poison, or I'm going through this, a pity party kind of thing. The experience, and that experience also birth,
Yeah,
right? Take us
yeah.
through that.
And right, and I tell you, so here's the thing, and I am not saying that just thinking positive is gonna cure you or get you better. That's not what I'm saying.
Totally
But
understand.
our thoughts do create the feelings, and our
Right.
feelings create the kind of actions that we take. So the more we're feeling like I really don't feel like getting up and going anywhere, it's the more we're denying ourselves of being able to take some kind of quick action, whether it's
Yes.
to go to try something new, whether it's to try a new medication, whether it's to get a second opinion, whatever it is. So it's about
Yes.
how our thoughts will dictate that feeling. And so the positive thoughts gives us those positive feelings, and then we take positive actions. So the third part of the message that I share is we have these valleys that we will go through, but we should never allow those to distract us from our purpose, from our destiny, from our dreams, from our goals. And so even, I find it so funny. And I decided I was going to show it today because I've been speaking about it, and everybody's like, I don't think so.
Yep.
Like, the morning after my surgery, a nurse was passing and I'm on my back car move, and I called her and I said, could you get my journal for me, please? And she's like, what? So yeah. Can you get my gratitude journal for me? Because
Yeah.
gratitude is the connection to the infinite. Gratitude is our connection to God, and what we focus on multiplies in our life. So I was determined that I was going to, no matter where I was in the process, I was going to find that seed of good and be grateful for that, right? I remember that morning, let me talk quickly. I remember that morning in the hospital because I was at UWI. The lady to my, what's this now, to my right, I think something, maybe early dementia or something had started, but physically she was okay. And throughout the night, she was really bothered, really making a lot of noise. And so because consciously she seemed to have been
Right.
coming and going, the lady directly in front of her, she was quite sharp, quite fine, but she could not move physically. I remember one morning she was calling me to come and hand her phone. And then the lady who was directly in front of me, Sharnet, there were times when I was so sure that she was no longer with us because she was not speaking, she was not moving, she was not eating, nothing. And as I laid there, I was like, yes, I'm in the hospital, but I still have so much to be grateful for. And so, that's something I've continued to this day. But what you're asking about is also, as I was going through, and just thinking about what do I want to create for the rest of my life? Yes, I'm in the hospital, or yes, I'm at chemo. I mean, my oncologist would say, Tanya, why are you walking with so many books? You know, you can sleep during chemo. And I was like, sleep? I'm
Wow.
creating a life. I'm creating a brand new life here. What are you talking about? And so I'd start to journal about what I wanted. And here is the other thing that, a counselor said to me. She said, too many times as she's having these conversations, especially with women, she realized that we have suppressed our dreams, our goals,
Yes.
to take care
Yes.
of everybody else, to do what
Yes.
society expects of us, to do what doesn't even feel good and expansive for us. And before we know it, we're hitting our 40s and we're spinning, oh my God, is there more?
Yes.
Is there more? What else is there? So I found myself in that space. What else is there? And believe you me, I'm so grateful for the career that I've had in corporate, but then I kept thinking there must be more.
Yes.
And the more for me became, oh my gosh, I do want to be a speaker, not just a speaker, an international speaker. I do want to be an author. I do want to be a coach. Why do I want to do that? I want to impact the lives of people. I want to help people get to their truth. I want to help people rise like how I find myself rising. Whatever that adversity is, I can show you how. Because it's not as easy. And so I started writing about that. I'm so happy and grateful that I am a #1 Amazon and New York Times best-selling author. No idea how that was going to happen. I'm so happy and grateful. I'm an international speaker. Well, so all of this is going on last year. Well, this year, March, kickstart just an incredible space for me. Where in March, I was on an international platform, Women Crushing Mediocrity Summit, and we had thousands of people tuning in. And I'm like a keynote, I'm like a featured speaker, and I'm sharing. And then, we produced, myself and 41 other authors, we produced the book, Women Crushing Mediocrity. And
Yes.
last week we launched that, and that became Amazon #1 best-selling, in 3 categories,
Look at
actually.
you.
And so, a part of what I say is, and this is going to sound weird, if cancer had not stopped me in my tracks, would I have been tapping into my unique gifts, my talents, my purpose? Because now I feel expansive, I feel alive, I feel like this is why I was placed on this earth.
New
Last
life.
week when I said I want to be a #1 best-selling author, I had no idea how that was going to happen. And like you, as we were speaking before, I kept thinking, oh my God, I don't know how to write a book. You don't even write a blog. You don't even send out emails. How are you
Yes.
even going to write a book? And here's what I've learned. The first thing is for us to decide what it is that we truly, truly desire. Decide that. Hold that image and detach from the how. As one of my coach, Tasha, says, the how is not your business. Leave that to the universe. We just place the order with God. We just place the order with the universe and detach. It will happen. So, last week, Tuesday, when the visionary put in our group and said, guys, this is 12 o'clock. Guys, we've hit #1. We're #1 best-selling authors. I'm like, well, that was easy.
Yes.
Coming from a space of, I have no idea. So here is what I also know, that when we're in that moment or in that place of being in the valley, being in that place of challenge and adversity, and sometimes it gets hard and it gets painful, what I know pulls us out and pulls us forward is that clear vision of who we want to be, what we want to do, how we want to show up for the rest of our lives. And that just kept pulling me, just kept pulling me, just kept pulling me. I'm like, one day I'm staring in the mirror and I have no hair. And I'm like, I'm so happy and grateful that my hair has grown back and it's curly and it's healthy. And no,
It's
my
a
hobby
baby
said,
here.
no, my hobby said, I think it passed cute. You need to do something with
Oh my God.
and I share that to say that this is what happens when we truly believe and we have faith, unwavering faith. My conversations with God wasn't about, when we were doing exams or we were doing, you're probably too young. I don't know if it is CXC. I don't know what you young
Yes.
people do now.
Really,
You,
Tanya. We did.
you, you're doing CXC and you say, Lord, I
I'm
promise,
going
if
to
you
this.
help me to pass it, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do
Yes.
this, you know. But
We
I've
don't
learned
get
that,
promises.
oh my gosh, we don't need to do that.
Yes.
We just need to decide what it is that we want, put it out there, believe, have unwavering faith. So I come from a place of thank you, it is already done. One of
Yes.
the things I wrote about when I was writing about speaking was like, oh my God, I don't know how or why, but I need to work with Les Brown. April 10, I was on the Les Brown Power Voice as one of the 15 speakers.
Yes. Awesome.
And
Wow.
more, and something else to come.
Okay.
So
Secret. I guess we have to bring you back on the show, but Tanya, I love your passion. You are truly an inspirational speaker. But I have about 8 minutes to close, but in a few words, us as financial advisor find it hard sometimes to sell our clients critical
mhm.
illness or insurance on a whole. What is your advice to us in terms of when we come to sell or to recommend?
Yes, yes. So let me do this very quickly. Now, as I said, I have been in the industry. I have been in the investment side, and I know that even for me personally, very early, I would see my advisor come in and I say,
Yes.
where should I go again? you know?
Yep, we get that all the time.
Yeah. And so from an advisor perspective, what I would say is understand the role that you play is not about selling insurance. You give people real hope. That's what you do. You give people that hope that I can get, because money is just a byproduct. I can get something from this to help me to continue on with my life, to build my best life. You are our partners in life. And I think if you see yourself that way, then the conversation really starts to change when you go in front of people.
Yes.
It's about seeing yourself as, oh my God, I'm not, it's about aligned sales. It's about that exchange of energy that goes on there.
Right.
What are you? I'm selling you on hope. I'm selling you on a vision. Because, when you talk about the kids, the vision is that if anything happens to my kid, I can afford to take care of my child.
Yes. Yes.
That's what so it's not about, boy, guys, I have something that can pay out $35 million here for your 8 million. It's, look, unfortunately, here are the facts, but here's what I'm offering you: this hope, this vision, this ability to continue on, almost even this security that goes on. And I would say also, so there's that element of it. And I would say, use stories like mine that have real numbers and can really show, the real impact. Because from a company perspective, we
Right.
tend to talk the big numbers. We paid out billions of dollars to
Right.
insurance and
Yes.
millions and
Claim.
millions of people. But
Yeah.
when you say, listen, I have a client and she gave me permission to share her numbers, and this was the cost. I remember just quickly, I remember, one of my surgeons saying, Tanya, I don't know if there are 6 people in the island who are on Perjeta
Because of the affordability.
because of the affordability. And so when you use those stories sell. People don't like to be sold. I know you go through that in sales training, right?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah. People don't like
yes.
to be sold. But if you show us a vision, you show us the how, you show us a why, you get us to tap into that why. But I think the first thing is recognizing that your role,
My purpose.
your role, your purpose is much bigger than coming out to say, listen, you guys should get insurance. It's much, much bigger than that. I hope that helped.
I thank you. I thank you. And as I said before, when I first heard your story, you created that space that reminded me of my role, my purpose. I am not a sale agent. Financial advisor, yes, but I create that hope in terms of generational wealth, the safety net in the event of, if that premature death should occur, what happens to my family? What happens to my spouse? There is something else I wanted to speak to you. You mentioned earlier of some aspect of the treatment that was free at UE. Can anyone access that, or you have to be on a list? Because you mentioned the lines or the amount of persons that were there.
Right.
Because even if they
So
have critical illness coverage insurance, you want to be able to let them know that there are other things that they can access.
yeah, so that would be so for that particular drug, that was the Herceptin. Yeah, there are criteria for you to get into that clinic, and that would be through your oncologist. But
Oh,
we also have to learn to know where we can access stuff. So for example, the NHF is
yes.
is is fantastic. They covered one of my regular chemo drugs, which was roughly about $30,000
Mm-hmm.
eat every 3 weeks, and they would cover that in full. So there is that. I know there are foundations that seek out to help
Right, right.
persons or so. But one of the things that let me say this in 2 minutes, in 2 seconds. One of the things that I also came to understand and to recognize, and what supported me, is that because I wasn't afraid to share my story from the get-go, resources
Okay.
always found its way to me. Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
my aunt who was in California, who she said to me, boy, my friend who I don't know just sent me $100 to give you. I know it's not much, but I'm like,
Yes,
that can buy a meal. That can.
yes, yes.
And I'm not suggesting that people should go and share and blab their story and whatever. But sometimes we also block our own blessings and
Blessing,
abundance,
because
by
we're comfortable,
hiding.
and it's me
And
alone going through this.
yes, yes. And the why we do it. Boy, I don't want people to think bad of me and think that I did something bad in my life, why this
It
has
is so
happened to me.
surprising that when it comes to my thing, it is my business, but people business are my business. But you hug up
Yes,
yours. Yeah.
yes, yeah. And like I said, I'm not saying go blab your thing, but share from a place of authenticity. Share from a place
Yes.
of why you're sharing. And examine the beliefs that are holding you back from sharing. Too many families don't know what their own family members are going through until it's too late. And you could have probably gotten some help or something. So it's that and things. So that's
Your
why I
last,
share.
your last few words to our viewers. Talk about where we can get the book again. Your
Oh,
last few words
so
in terms of we didn't get to talk about the investment aspect, but we know that helped. And I
yes.
wanted to expound on that too. I had a client who suffered a stroke, and he got his critical illness coverage. However, he had some money left because he was able to cover the cost, and he was able to invest the rest. So even
Hmm.
that, if you're saying, if I get whatever amount and it costs XYZ, you can invest the rest, because you heard it from Tanya. there are still costs associated with what she has experienced. No, even your lifestyle changes in terms of how you eat, how you take care of yourself. There are going to be some additional costs. And if there are families, children, and dependents, you heard it from Tanya. She had to help mom before her diagnosis. What if that at the back end?
Yeah, because then it ended up being
responsibilities.
2 years of no steady income for me.
Yes.
So it's also about falling back on that.
So you,
This we could have done this. I mean, for hours.
Yes, we could talk about this for hours. And it was just done today. Tanya, I have to have you again. I don't know when you'll be available, but I'd love to have you. And when you have more information on the book, we would love to hear even a stat
Yes.
or something in terms of what you came up with in terms of your journey. I enjoyed this thoroughly in terms of your experience. Your energy is awesome. And to learn just before the live that we are connected even more. It's an
More.
awesome feeling. So I hope we never become strangers again. I'm going
We
to brag
won't.
in the office tomorrow. Hey, Tanya is from Manchester High. I knew there was something about her. So yes, I'm going to show off tomorrow at the office. But I appreciate you for, allowing whatever it is that led you the experience in writing and in sharing your story and not being afraid to share your story, being open to just even being here and sharing with my audience. I'm assuming some of your friends came on. We appreciate you, Tanya. I appreciate you and thank you for being here. I want to remind the viewers to just remember to observe the protocols, the washing of the hands, the wearing of the mask, the watching the distance, and just be patient with each other. Just allow us to be in our space. Don't take it as an insult. Remember to stay safe, stay focused, and stay strong. Tanya, guys, remember to like and share. The video is here. Share with your friends and your families. This is really good stuff today. Tanya, thank you. And I can honestly and open say, girl, I love you. Love you.
Oh,
Hugs. And inviting you to lunch one of these days. Don't know
yes.
where. I mean, the social distancing, don't know where, who will house us, but love you honestly from the depths of my heart. And I embrace you. I embrace you. I
Thank you,
embrace you. And
Sharonette.
I
Thank you.
stretch it. Wherever you are, I send it positive energy to you. And you have birthed something in me that I actually need to start writing. Yeah. Yeah. Writing the journey. Yes. And I
I have
hope
some hookups for you.
yes. And I hope others were inspired to write. And she indeed is a coach and an inspirational speaker. Do you have any events coming up where that we can be a part of? Anything?
I no, there's nothing immediate. There's
Mhm.
something coming up. Oh, June 5,
Mhm.
for some inspiration, just find the Les Brown page on Facebook, June 5
June
at
5.
10 EST. That's 9 hour time.
Mhm.
There's going to be another Power Voice Summit that's one of the things that kickstarted everything for me.
That's a Les
Um,
Brown Summit.
yeah, the Power Voice Summit. That's on his page on Facebook.
Okay.
That's gonna be awesome. Whatever I have, I'll share, and you can share with your audience. I have some stuff working on, some great programs and everything. But
Mhm.
we'll talk about that at another time.
Yes.
But thank you so much for having me. It really, really was
Thank
a pleasure being.
you. Thank you. It was a pleasure. And our final words to you guys. Listen to your financial advisor. Listen to your financial advisor. We are here to help.
Not
Sometimes,
just listen, but take action. Take
yes, take the
action.
recommendation. So if it is an increase, if it is adding to the portfolio, and you need no other story clearer than Tanya's story, it is an experience, not a story, an experience that I would love for us to get on and grab the book on Amazon. And I'll be posting the information as Tanya updates me, and we'll be supporting that.
Thank
Women,
you
what is
so
it
much.
again?
Women crushing mediocrity.
Women crushing mediocrity. That's me. That's me. That's me. So thank you once again, girl. Awesome, awesome day. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, guys. I so do intend to. It's the Iconic Advisor page. Remember to like, share, subscribe. And when the videos are uploaded here or live, you'll be the first to notify. Thank you once again for joining in. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.